So welcoming Robin into the fitting bay today for an iron fitting. And so Robin, we saw, going back to about 2010, which is longer ago than that sounds, sadly, which says something about my age. But so been a little while since we see you, but what's the main focus for the fit today?
The main focus is, I'm struggling with my irons a little bit. My current irons are quite old, and I'm thinking if I'm going to invest in a new set, let's get them fitted properly. I'm getting on in age, so I'm guessing shafts are going to need to change, and so yeah, I'm interested to come to the experts. So.
Right, so it sounds like a refresh in order, and well, let's crack on and see what we can do. So Robin's previous set, current set, is some Mizuno JPX 900 series, so the hot metal in the 4 and the 5 iron, 6th pitch in the 900 forge. So a little bit of a split set to gain a little bit of forgiveness and ball speed at the top end. Lofts are blended in really well, so they match well, so there's no kind of gapping issues from a loft standpoint there. And shaft-wise, the true temp of the XP95, so kind of just under 100 grams, in theory designed for a little bit of launch, a little bit of spin. But you know, the bit that, say, stands out, actually shaft lengths are on the shorter side of standard, so at 37 on the 6 iron, whereas now stand length 37.5, but swing rate a little on the lighter side as a result of that shorter length. However, very consistent through the set. So there's nothing kind of stand out, kind of funky from a spec point of view, but as Robin alluded to a moment ago, you know, now can we get a little bit more shot value? Can we make them a little easier to get the best out of with this game where he is now? And from a technique point of view, anything you're currently working on?
Well, it is all about the trying to synchronise. So, you know, strength work is around. I'm doing some strength to try and improve upper body. Just because I'm getting old, rather than particularly for golf. But and then it is the synchronisation. So trying to wait and then turn, and I think they call it shallowing these days, don't they? The down and down and in.
Okay, got it.
Very popular, isn't it? So.
Oh, there are words that go around at various times that are always the key ones. Use the ground, shallowing, all that kind of stuff. And generally, would you play, when it's going well, would you play, I mean, that one had a little bit of draw to it, would that be a shot that you'd play for?
Yeah. Obviously, that's not meant in any way. That is. I'd say my total distance is probably about 140. I'd say with the 6.
Got it.
I don't know what you're seeing there, but
yeah. We've got another couple, and I'll run you through it. Yes, one more would be great. Okay. Yeah, so I generally look, contact's really solid. You know, efficiency-wise, really good. Looking at the kind of smash numbers here, those last few, you know, really strong there. So when you strike it early, you're getting very good ball speed efficiency. The thing for me in particular is it's low spin. You know, so there's launch-wise okay. You know, those ones are getting up to 16, 17. That's all right, but spin's low. For where I'd want a 6 iron to be. So what that just means is you've got to play for an awful lot of run out. So you know the ways that, you know, we've got Pro V1 that we're using there. There are things like from a ball point of view, slightly higher spin or a higher launching ball will help to get that height. But really in terms of maximizing carry and then control, there's a lot of run out going on, which out here it's
I was going to say
brutally
it's
hot
perfect.
out at the moment. It's now the downside at the moment. If you pitch it on a green, it's gone. It's not stopping. And then there's just also then a big differential depending on the ground conditions for your yardages that you've got to play. So I'd certainly be wanting to get flight up. Now, there'll be, can we increase a little bit of ball speed and height by going lighter potentially? May well be adding a little bit more loft just to get that ball up a little bit quicker, because the land angles are quite shallow. So that's just a case of we just really need to get that up as much as possible to get a steeper land angle. Just means more control. So just knowing what the ball's going to do when it lands, that's really going to be the big focus for this. I think looking at set makeup, I can't imagine the forearms used an awful lot.
It is, and that in itself creates an issue because I recently dumped my hybrid because I fell out of love with it. So I have been using my 5-iron more and full up. My enjoyment in golf is hitting nice irons. Always has been. So, if I can hit a nice 4-iron and you can find me something that I can hit, then lovely.
I can find you something you can strike, but I won't be recommending a 4-iron. That I can say absolutely right now. Other than very low for links golf, because if a 6-iron currently is spinning, the highest spin there is 3,600. 4-iron's going to be down at driver spin, and functionally there's just zero use for that on a golf course. Now, you're more than welcome to have one if you'd like one, but I don't see any, because what happens when the spin drops too low is just carry doesn't. It's impossible for it to stay in the air. So without a very strong ball speed progression or very high launch with very low spin, it just falls out the sky. And then you're getting so much run to carry proportion that again there's, other than it rolling up a fairway, there's just no use for it, because there's just not enough lift on the ball just to keep it in the air. But some of it is going to be, they're not crazy strong lofts at 28, but actually something that whatever we can do to get that flight up as much as possible, proportionate to loft, that's just going to help generally from an iron play point of view. But I get it. Irons are the favourite bit of my game. I just, if I'm hitting an iron well, I know I'm playing. I'm swinging decently. So I think something that keeps you that sort of feedback. But we definitely need to get that thing up in the air a little bit quicker. So I'm going to start off with the shaft, as we always do. I'm going to get a very similar head, just so we're not changing too much, but I want to get that timing. You see what we can do with a dead weight can help see us get a little bit more flight, and certainly if we can pick up a bit more ball speed, that'd be great. So we'll start with that first. I'll start with the current version of your forged iron as a base point, and then we'll work on shaft from there.
Lovely, thank you.
So taking shaft weight down about 20 grams. Make a reasonable change, because ultimately for any mile an hour gain we can make equals, even if all else stays the same, equals more height. So should then help the carry proportion.
So I saw you putting some lead tape on. Have you put weight back in there?
Just a little bit, just to bring the swing weight out slightly. It was sat where it was a little lighter than I wanted, so we're up kind of close to D0, close to similar swing weight to your current clubs, but will feel different with the lighter shaft weight and actually being just that little bit longer. I think some of the left hand miss, especially looking at these couple of swings, is where potentially that club's just getting a little bit kind of late, and then you've got to play catch up with your hand. Whereas first swing in particular, you see that back out in front of you more, which then should help to keep the face on line a little bit longer, which in turn should help to keep maintain flight height a little bit more as well. Okay, let's see one more. I'll take that a little bit lighter still. Okay, so I like the fact there's nothing left. You know, that's
Yep.
great. So the face to path numbers a little bit quieter and therefore direction a little bit straighter. First swing nice. I think I just want to find where we go too light and then we'll bring it back up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's take that weight down a little further. Okay, interesting. So that one's a little more left. Right,
Bit
I'll see
pulley.
one more of that. That might be where we found a little light and just being able to whip it over.
So I mean, this one's a slightly higher lofted one.
Yeah, it's interesting. So with the previous shaft, there wasn't anything left, and those two are now just the face is
Yep,
shutting
yeah.
down a little more. So let's go back a little heavier.
That's the thing, it's just
Okay, that's better ball speed.
I waited a bit more on that. It felt, I think, whether the shaft helped me do that. It didn't feel like I was rushing.
Yeah, I think with the previous one was a little lighter. It looked like you just got to the ball too soon, essentially. That a little bit more weight definitely helps. Okay, ball speed's definitely better with this. Definitely helps just to kind of knit it together from a timing point of view, for sure. You know, both of those, ball speeds up, efficiency's up. Just looks like the club kind of falls into the slot better for you.
higher lofted version on just to see what the
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and directionally better as well. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a couple of the shafts that are in the right kind of weight area, essentially between 70 and 75 grams. That's
Yeah.
a nice weight category. It's enough to make a tangible difference versus what you've got.
Yeah.
But I want to, you know, essentially wanting to make enough of a weight saving to make it worth making a
Yeah.
change. So I'm going to get a few more in that category because that looks nice
Okay.
from a weight point of view.
So it's technically speaking, it's the same size, but because of the layering on the ocean, it's a little bit faster. Yeah, worth exploring that. Yeah, I mean, it's still to the point where those are manageable for swing weight, so it's not intention overly heavy. So the left-handed left off.
That felt nice.
Yeah, good contact on that.
Charles irons. So as in, the sand wedge and the lob wedge, there will be no compromise there whatsoever. But when it comes to the gap wedge, so they don't do the full face version, but that's not actually a bad part. So the full face where it's similar to
Just a little bit. It's not bad. It's not bad. The other shaft's actually creating a little bit of a straighter pattern. So I'm just gonna. I'll watch one more of this, but I'll
Okay.
switch shaft over.
what actually works out quite nice is they don't introduce a full face.
Yeah, there's a little bit more roll over the hands through impact with
Yeah.
that one. It's close, but not quite as good as the Acro one for earlier,
Yeah.
actually. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, not as quick, not as quick. Just see kind of first one. The first one was a little higher, but had quite a lot of drop off in ball speed.
Yeah.
So the height was interesting, hence giving it another one, but not able to get the same kind of speed through the ball.
Yeah.
So we can see ball speeds down.
It's
So
interesting how much different that shaft now feels too.
Yeah, should swing. I had to take a reasonable bit of weight off the head, so
Yes.
the balance point of the shaft goes right down the
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah, so just because thin deep, yeah, so the shorter shaft, so when it goes into the lob wedge and the sand wedge, because it's a shorter shaft, you seem to adjust a bit better when you end up going into this one. It's just a little bit less. But again, that's something that we would add yet to
Horrible.
Interesting. Let's see one more of that.
Go grab a slightly longer shaft just to see if the length is what the issue there.
See if I can get my tempo back.
Okay, it's interesting. Still going back into it, the first batch were cleaner. She kind of looks like just feeling for the club head again. I'm actually going to put that first one we hit back in, because that was I think the straightest.
Right.
It was that first one was sometimes just being the first change and being better than what you've got can look really good, and then you go back to it and it looks not quite so good. But it was interesting how straight it was. So interesting to see if that continues. That last one didn't look as tidy through the ball as it was first time round. So which suggests just having to feel for it a little bit. But the balance in this shaft's a little bit nearer the bottom end.
Okay.
So maybe just lost a little bit too much feel for the club head with that shaft. Yeah. Definitely the directional shot pattern is more repeating. It's interesting. It's that one got a little bit of ground ball, but it looked like you started to move a little bit more freely again with that.
The swing I hit on that last one, that probably would have ended up as a pull.
Right.
With my current set.
Yep. Mm.
It felt like it was going that way, and it actually didn't very much, did it? It's,
No, only a couple of yards left. Okay. Okay, it's a better flight. There's definitely less right stuff. There's one other shaft I'm going to get with that, just that balance profile in mind, just to compare. So very slight change. Something that in theory should, the Rornay, the graphite design's quite a stable feeling shaft. This may feel a bit more responsive.
Okay.
In theory, a little more tip responsive, a little bit more, could be a little bit more height, but may just feel like it gives you a little bit more kickback.
Right.
Okay. There we go.
Thank you.
So again, very similar dead weight. Whether it gives it a little more kick, a little bit more flight.
It is amazing how all of the shafts just feel different when they're in your hands. It's,
yeah, slight differences to balance point, to dead weight. We are very sensitive to these things when they're side by side. Okay. Nice height on that. Okay.
they feel really nice and easy to hit.
Got it. Yep. Yeah, the efficiency is good. That one turned over a little bit more. The first one was great from a flight point of view. It seemed to just get a little bit more height to it.
Yeah, we'll forget about that one.
Little Healy, that was all. Just swing line, absolutely fine. Nice. Yeah, it's interesting that one, because we haven't changed anything to do with the head. That one's just, we've seen a little bit higher launch out of that shaft.
Okay.
So let's have a little look and see whether there's anything data-wise. The angle of attack's the same. Face to path very similar. But yeah, launch-wise, the steel launched fairly well, but the ball speed was less. But actually, of the graphites, these two, grab that one. Oh, I must have. Where's I put it over here? Can't see the wood for the trees. These two have given us the best launches. You know, very, very marginal. I mean, it's very marginal, 0.1 of a degree, but they're a good degree or so higher than the other shafts. And I think that's where that club face is staying a little bit more stable. There's a little less draw shape. That's not closing the face down and turning the loft down. So retaining just a little bit more flight. We're also getting the smash efficiencies a little higher. So they're keeping slightly higher ball speed as well. So, you know, there's potential for, you know, on course wise, potential if you're seeing a straighter shot, start to free it up a little bit more. Yeah. If that ekes out a little bit more speed, then more speed just means more height. But that's
and just a bit more confidence as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, over some of the other shafts, I mean, the steel had a decent land angle, but we're seeing a good couple of degrees of land angle gain. I'm going to have a look at some heads to see if we can kick that up a little bit more.
Yes.
You know, if we can get that without losing any ball speed, then we'll just see carry distance gain. But yeah, certainly shaft-wise, that's just giving us a little bit more. I mean, been up at 17 degrees, launch a couple of times there. You know, there was one with the graphite design as well, but that one had a little less speed.
And what are you hoping to see?
Well, it's really, I mean, that if we're getting a little bit more without using the loft yet, then actually loft is going to be the most, and head style are going to be the most direct ways of getting that flight up. And then anything extra we can get from the head just means we should be able to augment that carry distance and then lessen the run out. So if we can start to get the spin with a 4 on the front of it, you know, realistically kind of probably 19 odd launch and around 4 and a bit on spin, then we're starting to get to a flight where that's you know, that's then useful playing into a green. So I'm going to get a couple of those. Actually, one of the ones you mentioned, Brandy mentioned earlier, I think it was off camera, but good for launch angle. The Srixons are very good for launch angle. So yeah, what I do want to keep is a head that feels nice.
Yes.
Something you said earlier on about you know, experiencing that feedback from a nice iron strike. But then a lot of those heads are going to help us keep a little bit of launch and spin. So some of the faster heads get very low on loft, and then that pulls the spin down. So they might, relative to loft, launch it quite well, but there's not a lot of spin. So you end up essentially, you know, on some heads you might end up in a 7-iron rather than a 6. But ultimately the spin starts to get quite low. But we'll have a look at head and ball actually as well. But I'll grab a couple of heads to see what we can get from those.
Immediately you walk in the building, I think you get the sense of a very professional organisation. I came for a fitting many years ago, and even in the previous building, which was a lot smaller, it was very professional, and clearly I knew I was going to get the experts. And having also watched some of the YouTube and the social media activity, you can see the depth that Simon goes into with every fitting. So yeah, it's, you know, you come to the experts, don't you?
So I'm happy with where we are with shaft wise. Just going to start looking at heads. What can we do to help get that flight up? You know, basically try and maintain ball speed. If we can gain it, great, but get a little bit more flight. So I've added a little bit of loft and going to heads that are designed to get that bit of elevation as well. So starting with the Srixon ZXiR 5, and we've got a Titleist and a Ping as well that we'll switch into too. Switch into too? Yeah. That's A little bit of ground on that, but launch up.
But as long as they're the same size, it's not going to be worse at all.
I think I've got it slightly head heavy. I'm just going to take a little bit of extra weight that I put on. Take it back off. Let's check the tags. Oh, it's got it back to C9. Okay. Just give yourself just a little bit more space from it. That was swing line absolutely fine, angle of attack good, just stood a little bit close.
Okay.
Yeah, not quite as much ball speed off this one. Just not picking it up quite as well as the previous Mizuno head was.
Right.
Ball speed's just dropped off a little bit. This one's the T250 Star, so it will have a little bit of a kind of a more hollow sound to
I was
it.
going to say, it sounds a bit...
But designed to get more elevation, so and straight away we see launch angle up. But it is a bit of a harder sound to it versus the earlier head.
Yes.
And the heads that you're currently playing, the frame material on this is a little harder, but the chamber inside does produce a bit of a, well, a very different note off the face.
Very modest then.
Just not off the face as well as the Mizuno head, so let me switch that. I'll take that one out. We're still seeing better ball speeds with the Mizuno head currently. Yep. First one, that was so interesting from a flight point of view. It definitely looked to give a bit more ball flight, but the ball speed and the whether some of it is, it's such a different sound, the feel, the feedback. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't sure you enjoyed the feel of that. So, and that cannot, it's immeasurable, but has quite an impact on it. Sort of starts your club speed just slowing down because it's almost like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm really loving it.
To be honest, I get frustrated with the sound my 5-iron makes.
Right. Yeah.
Because it is a very different sound from the others, and that's more of a click.
Yep.
It's a noticeable clicking sound.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a very important part of it. You've got to look forward to hitting the shots, and if you're almost sort of waiting for something that you're not enjoying, you just don't free the swing up the same way.
Yeah.
There you go. So this is into Ping I240. So again, a head that's been very good at retaining ball flight, launch and a bit of spin. It's whether it gets the same, again, ball speed efficiency as we had off the earlier head. Harder sound. See one more with this. I might go back to that Mizuno head. Oof. Let me just go back to that Mizuno head from earlier. Just the strike seems to have gone a little bit off.
Yeah.
But just if we go back to one that worked well earlier, I'm gonna add a bit of loft to it as well, just to see whether that sort of gets the performance back. That's interesting. Contact-wise, better straight away. That one had a little more draw on, but the ball speed's straight back up. It's interesting, that's starting to turn it over a little bit more.
I think that's me rather than me.
Got a little bit more from the inside.
I just feel like my synchronization is out.
Turn through, we've got a little bit. Got a little bit heel side, much better line through the ball though. Just stand slightly further, just getting a little close to it.
We'll get close again, okay.
Swing line to the previous one, the swing line's great, but the contact point was just getting into the heel side. So it's just giving yourself a little bit more room to free your arms up. Let me just get something, I want to get something together that's just something totally different to swing. Just to, change it up a little bit. But I want to see what we get out of a sort of a 27 odd degree, what a lofted hybrid gives us, just to get a comparison on where ball flight is.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
Doesn't have to come in bright red.
Other colours are available.
Actually, in this shaft, yes, it's rare in a shaft they are, but in this one it is actually. Let's log these details on here, bear with me one moment. Great, thank you.
This is based on general just neutral conditions. So this time of year, the ball
Right. Okay, so immediately what we've got is a lot more spin. So straight away we're up at, and bear in mind this is less loft than the ZXiR's at. It's at, decent launch over 17 degrees, but it's got 4,300 revs of spin on rather than 3,300 revs of spin on. So that change in centre of gravity gives us up and backspin, which is just the construction of the head, but yeah, immediately a little bit more pitch of flight. Steeper land angle, better control. Let's see one more. I'll change the shaft weight just to compare. Okay, let's take the shaft up. So it's not dissimilar to the same, like that first one you hit, there's a little bit more ball speed to come out of that, but it's got the same carry as the really well hit 6 irons, but it's less run out. So actually for playing into a green, for playing into a green, it's actually one could argue, unless you solely play links golf and into wind, it's a better flight. In that it's allowing you to play at the target rather than having to land it short and then run out. So, you know, spin, you know, on those best hits has gone from, let's we go, where were the earlier shots with that combination? Yeah, 17 launch, 3-4 on spin, 128 carry, you know, 47 feet height, 33 land angle to half a yard further, but it's 10 foot higher, 10% steeper land angle. So, and there's, you know, there's still a little bit more ball speed to come out of that as well, which then starts to see the carry go up, but then the total, the further it carries, the better the ball speed, the higher the flight, the quicker it stops. So that's where the hybrids do give a bit of an advantage for playing into greens with. Especially if you've got a par 3 with bunkers short.
Yeah, I've taken the longer par 3s. I've taken to using my, you know, swing slow on my 5-wood.
Right.
Felt a nice strike.
Little less flight and spin. Thanks, John. Not quite. I think going a bit heavy. That second one was a good contact, but it's brought the flight down a little bit where just to fetch it slightly. So I'll put that one back. I'll get another, get a different shaft.
Oh, you're doing that.
Better that little bit lighter. Okay. Again, just give yourself a little bit more space from it. I think strike-wise just sounds, a little on the heel.
Okay.
So it's just giving yourself a bit more room. Swing's absolutely fine. Yeah, nice. Okay. Okay, this is close. I'm just going to chop one other shaft in. So by keeping on the hybrid, the shaft weight actually more in the, so we're at sort of 75 grams on the irons, but this one's more like 55. Keeping it under 60, that's giving a little more, it's helping maintain a little bit more spin.
Okay.
So both this one and the KBS Max and the 50, those kept the spin above the 4,000 mark. When we went over 60, just changed the delivery and just brought the spin down a little bit, took it under 4. So really the key with this, the whole reason for going, if we were to go to this sort of club, is to make sure we keep that launch and spin up.
Yeah.
There we go. So this one's just a hair longer shaft wise.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to go back to one of those earlier ones, not quite, just a little behind, having to fetch it. And that's what it brings, like you're finding with your current set of irons, the moment it tips just slightly heavy, it drops a little bit behind and under, and then you fetch it.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a little bit more rotation and path a bit more into out, and the face closes down, which is where the pull comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, loads of height. So then that's one where ball speed that we've achieved with the irons, 18 launch, just over 4,000 spin, but we've now got the carry another, it's a couple of yards longer, but it's then the total distance has come back 5 or 6 yards from a carry of a couple of yards shorter. So you've got 7 or 8 yards less run out of this than out of the best 6 iron we've got.
Okay.
Okay, so little lower launch, but still spin-wise not bad at all. There's one other head I'm going to get just to get a comparison on this. I think that shaft swings well. I'm just going to get the Titleist, the GT1, because that's also designed to give us that bit of extra flight. Okay, that stayed a bit right, but that spun even more. Okay. Interesting, that's gone a little left to see where. Okay, so spin's still pretty good. I'm going to watch one more of that though. It's whether it's quite as consistent. Not certain the club face control's quite as consistent as with the ping.
No, it felt, yeah.
Yeah, the face to path tolerance 2 degrees with the ping, 4.5 with the Titleist. So that one, even though the setups are very very similar, it's just letting you kind of rotate the toe over a little bit more. Certainly the ping from a let me see, height and land angle actually averages out a little higher. Some of that's a bit better ball speed. I just think the club head on the ping's collecting the ball a little bit better. So I'm going to pop that back together.
Okay.
And say, for someone who picks it a bit more off the top, that's where they've been incredibly good heads.
Right.
The Titleist have been good, but just not as good from a face consistency point of view. Yeah, just collects the ball more consistently.
Yes.
Just didn't quite turn on that one. Yeah, so slightly lower on the face, but that's still, it's still reasonable ball speed. We're still getting a reasonable amount of carry and spin onto that. Whereas if you don't quite get it with the iron, the drop-off's pretty big. That's dropped off, okay, it's dropped off kind of 7 to 10 yards of carry, but it's still up there pretty well, whereas the iron flight drops off a little bit more. So I think for me, we got this one's at a 27-degree loft. But we're getting, say, more spin. The head style gets us the flight. The loft helps us with a bit of ball speed.
Yeah.
So you're able to get to where the higher lofted position on the iron is, but gain a little bit of carry distance through slightly lighter weight. I think there's a bit more to come out of it as well, but that slightly lighter weight, different head style, just helps generate that little bit more lift and flight, which, I mean, for me, even versus the 6-iron, I think it's for Parkland golf and the kind of golf we play around here, and I don't, trying to remember the course style that you play.
Parkland,
yeah,
but quite bouncy,
yeah,
for a lot of the year.
So the bounce bit means you're likely to get decent amount of it's going to run out relatively well anyway. Yeah. So for me, anything we can do to get as much carry and control as possible just means, so certainly playing into greens, you can be more reliable with the distance you're hitting. Yes. So I would be looking at, I think, switching the 6-iron for a hybrid.
Okay.
From a functional point of view on ball flight, I think it's then very hard to look beyond the kind of ball speeds and the strike when you take the forged material, the feel. The Mizuno outperformed anything else. Yeah. But once that loft drops under the 30-degree mark, I just don't think we're generating the launch and the spin. From a practical playing into the green point of view, I think the hybrid gives you a lot more control playing into those greens. So from a height and a stopping power point of view, those ones up at, well, the best one up there, 37 land angle, 55 feet, 4,000 spin, it's just more than an iron can achieve. Yes. Even at a slightly higher loft, you start to then lose a little bit of the carry distance. So in order to gain the height, we start to drop the carry back. And so that's where this club would just give you more height and carry and shot value than a 6-iron can. So
I'll need to fall back in love with hybrids.
The problem with hybrids is they can, if they're, right, as we saw, very slight changes in shaft weight and slight changes in head style, and you get quite different shot patterns. Yes. So when they're good, they're really good. But if they're not quite right, they're often horrible. And so that's very much the kind of love-hate side of it with them. But I think the gain from a shot style, height, stopping power point of view, with what we're getting with that, the consistency, seeing those carries up around the 130 mark without the total going up, you're then just giving yourself so much more into a green. Yeah. So
thank you. I wouldn't have. Yeah. Not what I was expecting.
No, I think it's not like you don't strike the iron well. So it's not the good hits are great. Yeah. It's just where that spin sits. It's just not at a spin which is useful. for the kind of shots we're trying to hit with them. So for play, if you're just advancing up a fairway, it can be low spin. It can just run out as far as it wants. But you start to lose, certainly in the 5-iron, 4-iron end of things, the carry gain just isn't going to be there because it's not going to get the height. But where we're into this sort of, certainly kind of 5-iron, 6-iron end of things, the hybrids, we're going to give you, certainly 6-iron, the height to get some stopping power into a par 3, off a low tee. Well, you're going to hit it even higher still, and then it's going to stop even quicker, but should gain that extra bit of carry. So I think, fairly, in terms of what you're able to do from strategy calls, not having to play away from pins or just sort of play, just sort of try and trundle one through the front edge, or having to lay out because actually having got something that stops in time, or having to take way too much off the 5-wood, then actually something you can play positively and know that it's got that little bit more stopping power. I'd be inclined to, in a separate session, but to have a look at, right, what does putting in a 7-wood, possibly even 9-wood do? Because even at where we're at from this hybrid loft point of view, I wouldn't want to lose too much of that height and spin from again, kind of approaches to greens point of view. So, something around the 23, 24, and the 9-woods now, that could be a really, really useful tool to open up a lot more positive strategy calls on the golf course rather than having to be really defensive and say lay up and wedge on. Actually go, no, actually I can carry that and hold it. I think there's another layer to this that's worth having a look at for sure. But I think hybrid versus the 6-iron will make quite a lot of difference.
Lovely, thank you.
So quite an interesting conclusion, actually, not one that I expected to see before we started. You never quite know what you're going to get, but interesting enough, actually, just to kind of carry over to your current heads, in the irons still worked actually best. Whether there's anything in the fact that you've used the Mizunos in the past subliminally, I don't know, but shaft weight drop really that's quite a good thing. But into the lofted hybrid, that was a real kind of transformative in terms of ball flight, and it's a question that we see an awful lot online: is irons, hybrids, when should one go into them? And it's just to do with really getting, relative to the job you need that club to do, the height and the spin, and that did it really well.
Yes, the ping particularly, I really like to hit. It was amazing the difference between the ping head and the Titleist head in terms of that. Really seemed to sit nicely, the Titleist less so. Yeah,
and actually how much more face rotation there was, with a very, very similar spec. Again, some of that may be, as you mentioned there, alluded to just maybe not feeling as comfortable at address. The ping's got a really flat sole, so it seats really nicely. Little things like the white grooves at the bottom, it helps alignment. It really kind of clarifies where the bottom of the face is. But a real kind of step change in flight for that, and I think should see a big old difference for approach shots.
And as you said, it wasn't the result I was expecting either. So,
which is always nice actually, because if something proves itself by finding a different performance in the bay, that's great, because actually it's done it for the right reasons rather than kind of just sort of rinse and repeat.
Well, and that's the data speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so great gains in launch angle, spin in particular. So practically from a playing on the golf course side of things, definitely opens up some shots and some attacking options that currently aren't there. So allows you to choose when to make a positive step or choose what shot to hit rather than being forced down a scenario. So I'm sure something that's going to resonate for a lot of people watching. We're doing way more lofted woods, lofted hybrids for exactly these reasons. Balls are getting lower spin, and actually that was one thing we didn't actually look at. You could gain a bit more spin with a different ball as well. So depending what you see on course, there is another lever that can be pulled from a height point of view as well. So hopefully,
thank you.
Lovely to see you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope you've enjoyed the fitting. Thanks for Robin for allowing himself to be filmed and coming in and helping us have a look at this. If you found that interesting, check out all the other videos on the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, and just like Robin, you might find yourself in the bay if you sign up to our newsletter as well.